Jai Shri Krishna. Chapter 2 Sankhya Yoga, that is, the Yoga of Investigation. It begins with Sanjay narrating everything to his blanking Dhritarashtra. Sanjay said, seeing Arjun overwhelmed with grief and pity and his eyes full of tears, Shri Krishna spoke the following words. He said, my dear Arjun, from where has this weakness arisen at this crucial moment? This is not appropriate for an honorable man. Neither will it bring heaven nor fame to you. O Parth, do not yield to unmanliness. This does not suit you. O conqueror of the enemy, give up such petty weakness of heart and arise. Arjun said, O Madhusudan, how can I counter-attack and shoot arrows on grandfather Bhishma and teacher Dronacharya? Both of them are worthy of respect. It is better to live in this world by begging than to killing our respectable elders. Though they have desire for wealth, they are still my teachers. Therefore, in killing them, I commit the sin of killing my teacher. And the wealth and pleasures that I will get later will be mixed with that sin. I do not know what is better for us, to conquer them or be defeated by them. Even after killing them, I will have no desire to live. Now I am confused about my dharma, my duty. I cannot decide what is right or wrong. I request you to tell me precisely what is good for me. Now I am your disciple, surrendered to you. Please guide me. Even if I get to rule over a prosperous and unrivaled kingdom on the earth, or gain supremacy like the celestial gods, I will be unable to remove this sorrow. Sanjay said, having thus spoken, Arjun told Krishna, Govind, I will not fight, and became silent. O Dhritarashtra, thereafter Shri Krishna, as if smiling, spoke the following words to Arjun, who was grieving in the middle of both the armies. Shri Krishna said, while you speak words of wisdom, you are grieving for those who are not worthy of sorrow. The wise grieve neither for the living nor for the dead. There was never a time when you, I, or these kings did not exist. In future also, none of us will cease to exist. Just as the soul in this body goes through childhood, youth, and old age, similarly, at the time of death, it moves to another body. The wise one do not grieve over this fact. O Arjun, the contact of our senses with material objects causes us to experience heat and cold, pleasure and pain. These things are temporary and come and go like the changing seasons. Therefore, one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. That person who is not disturbed by happiness and sorrow and can remain balanced in both becomes eligible for liberation. The unreal has no existence, whereas the real never ceases to exist, and there is no non-existence of the real. This fact about the two, real and unreal, has been analyzed by the knowers of the truth. Know for certain that individual consciousness which pervades the whole body is indestructible. Nobody can destroy the imperishable soul. The soul is indestructible, immeasurable and eternal, whereas these material bodies are subject to end. Therefore, O Arjun, pick up your bow and arrow and fight. One who thinks the soul is the killer and one who thinks the soul is killed, both of them are in ignorance, because the soul neither kills nor gets killed. The soul is neither born nor does it ever die. nor having once existed does it ever cease to be. The soul is birthless, eternal, ageless, and imperishable. It is not destroyed when the material body is destroyed. O Parth, how can one who knows the soul to be imperishable, eternal, unborn, and timeless kill anyone or cause anyone to kill? Just as a person gives up old clothes and wears new one, so does the soul at the time of death accepts new material bodies, giving up the old ones. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can it be burned by fire. Water cannot wet it, nor can the wind dry it. The soul is unbreakable and unburnable. It can neither be wetted nor dried. It is everlasting in all places, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same. It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, and changeless. Knowing this, it is not proper for you to grieve. O mighty armed Arjun, even if you think that the soul is subject to constant birth and death, even then you should not grieve like this. Since for who has taken birth, death is certain, and for one who is dead, birth is certain. Therefore, you should not grieve over this inevitable fact. O descendant of Bharat, all created beings remain unknown before birth. They become known in the middle, that is, between birth and death, and after death again become unknown. So why grieve? Some see the soul as amazing, some describe it as amazing, and some hear of the soul as amazing, and some, even after having heard, still have no knowledge of it. O Arjun, the soul that resides within the body is immortal. Therefore, you should not grieve for anyone. Besides, considering your duty as a warrior, you should not be disturbed because there is nothing greater than a righteous war for a warrior. O Arjun, you are fortunate to have got this kind of battle which is purely by chance, and indeed it is an open gate for heaven. However, if you do not fight in this righteous war, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. People will always speak of your ill-famed reputation, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. The great chariot warriors will think that you left the battlefield out of fear and thus will lose their respect for you. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and criticize your ability. What could be a greater sorrow than this? If you fight, you will either be killed on the battlefield and go to heaven, or you will win and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, O Kaunteya, get up and fight with determination. Treat joy or sorrow, profit or loss, victory or defeat with equality, and then engage in war. By fulfilling your responsibility in this way, you will not incur sin. O Parth, I have explained to you the analytical knowledge of Sankhya Yoga regarding the nature of the soul. Now, hear the knowledge of yoga by which you can break the bondage of action. In this yoga, there is neither loss of effort nor any negative result. Even the slightest effort performed righteously saves one from the greatest of danger. O Kurunandan, Arjun, in this yoga, the thoughts of the determined are focused, whereas the thoughts of the undetermined are scattered and endless. The unwise, who speak flowery language, delight in the words of the Ved, which recommend the performance of ritualistic ceremonies for material rewards and promotion to the heaven. They praise only those portions of the Ved that please their senses and strive for heaven, thinking that is the whole purpose of the Ved. In this way, they continue reincarnating in the cycle of life and death without seeking enlightenment. Those whose minds are carried away by extreme attachment to pleasure and power do not attain the resolve to fix their minds on the Supreme Lord. The Ved described the three guns, that is, the three modes of material nature. These modes of material nature are Sattva, that is the mode of goodness, Rajas, mode of passion, and Tamas, mode of ignorance. Rise above those three modes, Arjun. Free yourself from dualities. Remain always in Sattva Gun, that is the mode of goodness. Give up thinking about possession and preservation and be grounded in the eternal soul. Just as a small well serves all the purposes served by a large lake, similarly, one who is the knower of the absolute truth knows all the purposes found within the Ved. You have a right to perform your prescribed duties, but do not concern yourself with the results. The fruits of your actions are not for your enjoyment. Even while working, give up the pride of doership and do not be attached to inaction. O Dhananjay, perform your duty with dedication and discard all attachment to success or failure. Remain balanced in both. Such evenness of mind is known as yoga. Performing action with a self-motive is far inferior than the knowledge of wisdom. Therefore, seek refuge in the knowledge of wisdom. Those who desire for rewards are selfish and worthless. One blessed with wisdom gives up both good and bad reactions in this life itself. Therefore, strive for yoga of wisdom, which is the art of working skillfully. The wise individuals who perform action with equality free themselves from the cycle of birth and death by renouncing the fruits of action in the material world and go to the state of no sorrow. When your spiritual intelligence goes beyond the cover of delusion, you will go to the state of total indifference, that is Vairagya, to all that has been heard and all that is to be heard. When your mind is no longer attracted by the fruitive and materialistic statements of the Ved and remains fixed and grounded in spiritual awareness, then you shall attain yoga, that is union with self. Arjun said, O Keshav, what are the characteristics of that person who is with steady wisdom and fully absorbed in pure spiritual knowledge? How does such an enlightened person speak, sit and walk? Shri Krishna said, O Parth, when an individual gives up all desires that enter the mind and is self-satisfied in his own self, that individual is called a person of steady wisdom. One whose mind remains undisturbed in misery and does not crave for any pleasure and is free from attachment, fear and anger is known as a person of steady wisdom. One who remains unattached to anything in this world and is neither delighted by good fortune nor upset by misfortune. He is a person with perfect knowledge. One who is able to withdraw the sense organs from their sense objects, just as a tortoise withdraws its limbs into its shell, then the mind of such a person is considered steady. For the one who does not feed the senses come back to oneself, leaving the craving behind. Having realized one's true nature, even the longing also goes away. O son of Kunti, the senses are so strong and unstable that they can forcibly carry away the mind of even a wise person who practices self-control. One whose senses are under control and keep their minds ever absorbed in me is indeed known as a person of steady wisdom. When a man constantly thinks about objects, attachment for those objects arises. Attachment leads to desire. and from desire arises anger. From anger arises delusion. From delusion, confusion in memory. From confusion in memory, loss of understanding to differentiate between right and wrong. And from loss of understanding, one falls down again into the material pool. However, one who controls the mind and is free from love and hatred, even while using the objects of the senses, attains the grace of God. By divine grace comes the peace in which all sorrows end, and the mind of such a peaceful person soon becomes steady. A person who has not learned to discipline the mind and senses can neither meditate upon God nor experience His divine bliss. For one who never unites the mind with God, there is no peace. And how can there be any happiness without peace? Just as a boat on the water is swept away by a strong wind, even one of the senses on which the mind focuses can carry away a man's wisdom. Therefore, O mighty armed warrior Arjun, one who always restricts his senses from objects, only his mind is stable. What all beings consider as day is the night of ignorance for the wise, and what all creatures see as night is the day for the thoughtful, knowledgeable, wise person. Here Shri Krishna explains that ignorance and knowledge are like night and day. Those who are lost in worldly knowledge look to material enjoyment as the real purpose of life. They consider the opportunity for worldly pleasures as the success of life or day, and deprivation from sense pleasures as darkness or night. On the other hand, those who have become wise with divine knowledge see sense enjoyment as harmful for the soul and hence view it as night. They consider refraining from the objects of the senses as uplifting to the soul and hence look on it as day. Just as the ocean remains unmoved by the constant flow of waters entering it from all sides, likewise the wise person who remains undisturbed despite the flow of desirable objects all around him attains peace, and not the person who strives to satisfy desires. That person who gives up all material desires and lives free from a sense of greed, mindness and egoism attains perfect peace. Shri Krishna concluded this chapter by highlighting that such is the state of an enlightened soul that having attained it, one is never again deceived. Remaining in this state even at the hour of death, one is liberated from the cycle of life and death and reaches the supreme kingdom of God.